I saw the Sins video.
Okay.
Made some good points.
Welcome to Sincast, presented by Cinemasins.
All right, everybody, welcome to the Sincast. This is Chris Atkinson from Cinemasins, joined as always by the voice of Cinemasins, Jeremy Scott.
But hey.
Mm-hmm. You're bra bomb. Better work, nerdlinger. And from Music Video Sins, Barrett Share.
Hello.
Now, we are doing this podcast directly after the last one we did, which means I don't know how pissed off you guys are. Which means I haven't gotten to the comments yet. And so, yeah, so there's we're talking about this as if we still have a show.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
everybody has abandoned ship at this point.
That's right.
But the 5 of you that are still there, you will be gone by the end of this episode.
Right. This is
the first matchup.
This is going to tear it. We are going to go back to our Marvel versus DC March Madness in summer bracket thing.
I'm Batman.
I am Iron Man.
I'm always angry. As far as I'm concerned, that's America's ass.
Shotgun. Oh, wait.
Oh, yes. Wait a minute. What? We're going to go to the West bracket where the number 1 seed, The Dark Knight, goes up against number 8, Avengers Endgame.
Holy fuck.
And yeah, this is the most assholey 1-8 there is.
Wow. My balls hurt.
Yeah. They're a little achy, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean,
What brought you to the conclusion that Endgame was an 8 seed?
All right, so the number 1 seeds for Marvel, Iron Man, the Avengers. Number 2 seeds, I think those are, we can get to whether they're saleable because I know you guys don't like the Avengers as much as I do. But they would probably be in the top 2 line, right? Number 2 seeds, Black Panther and Homecoming, and Spider-Man Homecoming. I think that's a fairly good consensus here. Number 3 seeds, Infinity War and X-Men United, X2. All right? So basically, to get all of these properties in, including the ones outside of the MCU, it basically fell to, where does Endgame go in? It's not above Infinity War. It's not above the original. Age of Ultron didn't even make the cut. So, yeah, basically, I wanted to get it in there, even though I got some problems with it. But it just ended up on the 8 line.
So it's been since it came out, since I've seen Endgame. So that's roughly a couple months. And so I haven't had a chance to get back into it, but the Endgame just feels like it's the culmination. It doesn't really hold up on its own, I guess. Really.
No, if you went in this not having seen any MCU movies, I mean, there's no way, right?
No, and I think there are a lot of fans who are going to be able to wipe that away faster than I can. Who will say, well, they created something new. But I still think, for the most part, a movie ought to be able to play on its own.
Yeah, you look at the Mission Impossibles, you can watch those at any point and just go into the series. You don't have to know how many times Ethan Hawke has been disavowed and all that shit.
Ethan Hawke?
Ethan from...
He was disavowed by Uma Thurman at least once.
Yes, that's true. That's true, literally.
But yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you can go into Black Panther and not know anything, and that would be... And you'd be perfectly fine.
In fact, most of the MCU movies are fine that way. Infinity War and Endgame are the ones that really are.
Yeah, so Endgame plays like a series finale, and it's like we're just tying up a lot of loose ends. I didn't really like too much of the action in this movie.
No, it's the same.
It's the same. I didn't think it was great. I mean, I did think, like I said, there were some good emotional moments in it. I think it is a good tie-up to the whole thing.
Sure.
I just don't think on its own it's a great movie in any sense of the word. So who knows? Maybe we're completely wrong. I know that, like I said, this is just one of those type of movies that we're just going to have to disagree with the most of the people in the world right now.
I think. Do you think they could have just axed the time travel and figured something else out?
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many different ways.
Like I said, and I don't know if this is a better movie or not, but once he said that they were atoms, I thought for sure the whole Ant-Man thing was gonna play into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I thought they were gonna have to get down into atoms and just collect it. Now, that may not be a good movie, but you don't have to be. That doesn't have to be the movie. You know, they can just go and have a montage of Ant-Man like collecting like little droplets of Infinity Stones and stuff. But that's what I thought was going to happen when he said that. I was like, that's so specific.
I know, it's perfect.
And we've got Ant-Man like in the nether regions and in the upside down or whatever he is.
I'm just saying they made it needlessly complicated and easy to pick holes at, right? Because it does set up great moments. The moment with Tony and his dad, the fight with Cap on Cap. And there's some good moments, but it's like there's so many different ways that you could have gone about doing this and got to that ending. And that ending is strong. I think some of it is nonsensical. The powers are still undefined, but the spectacle of it is fantastic,
Yeah. I mean, I only saw it the one time. It's probably waned a little for me.
Yeah.
I will watch it again. I'm not a big fan of filmmakers and fans saying about a movie, oh, just don't worry about that stuff.
Yeah.
Oh, just don't think about that
stuff.
stuff.
That's my issue, too. You don't have to do that. You could have written this in so many different ways. I don't even know, is this a direct, because Infinity War, the storyline, was a direct throughput from the comics, right?
No. Yes and no.
It was influenced, like the Thanos thing was influenced, right?
Yes.
But it wasn't the same motivation because he was doing it for like God or something like that.
Death.
Right?
Yeah, he was doing it for death, yeah.
And do you know if Endgame is directly inspired by any of the comics? Okay.
No.
That's what I'm saying is that how did they reverse it in the comics or whatever?
They had the help of characters the MCU has not introduced yet.
Okay.
Well, wasn't there even the character that they introduced at the one of the credit scenes of Guardians of the Galaxy?
Oh, Adam Warlock?
Adam
Yeah.
is the one that is supposed to come back and help that out, I believe.
Oh, really?
If I have read, I've read that sparingly, but they introduced that in Guardians of the Galaxy, and they still haven't done anything with that.
How hard would it be to write him into the fucking Endgame?
I don't know. Instead, they wrote in Captain Marvel and then just wrote her out.
I got problems with this movie.
Yeah, it's one of these things where, in the moment, the way Tony's story wraps up, the way all the storylines tie together, the way Captain America has his final moment, I think it leaves you on a high. Mm-hmm. And then when you start thinking about it, you come down a little bit from that. I do.
Yeah.
So much of it is fan service, right? Like so much of this Cap versus Cap and him being on the elevator and saying Hail Hydra and
the all-female shot.
Yeah, the all-female shot. There are a lot of things in there where it was like, we know fans will like this, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that I don't think that makes the movie great in any way. I think it's kind of a fun thing, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, again, we will all see this again at some point. Maybe our opinions will change of it, but it has the unfortunate aspect of going up against the Dark Knight, and I don't think, however high we seated Avengers Endgame, it was going to get past this one.
No, and The Dark Knight, you definitely don't need to know anything about Batman or Joker or what happens in Batman Begins,
Dude,
to have any impact on your viewing experience.
This along with Logan are like one of the only movies that treat comic book movies with a realism, rather than just saying this is just kind of ridiculous people in tights with powers type of thing. The opening, I mean, you don't even have to have a Joker or a Batman for that opening to be awesome.
Yeah.
That's the statement to this whole thing, is that heist, if this was like Heat Part 2,
Yeah.
you would be all in for that shit.
Yep.
And that experience for Dark Knight for me I don't think I'll ever forget that. That was so many things around that movie that I can relate to as far as where I was at the time. And I was in New York. That I've told the story about the interlocking and all that. Yep. We had seven auditoriums of that going at midnight. This was my first movie that I ever ran in an IMAX theater.
Oh, wow.
Just being able to run that and look at that from the booth, or, and sometimes being able to go down in the auditorium, experience it in IMAX and everything. Every time that opening scene with that spare Hans Zimmer music and everything comes on, I'm just like, I'm giddy thinking about that fucking opening. Yeah. And the rest of the whole thing, it moves, just churns and churns. And Joker keeps on throwing these balls up in the air that Batman has to keep juggling.
Yeah.
He really is behind the eight ball the entire movie up until that last point.
And actually, he's behind the eight ball in that last point too.
Yeah.
It's just the humans making a decision, which I don't think you would make.
I mean, yeah.
I'm glad they do, obviously.
One of those boats is blown up.
He doesn't influence any of this shit.
Thank God for a dude from Friday, right?
Yeah, Tiny Lister.
Give it to me. I'll do what you should have done 5 minutes ago. Now, it's trendy to hedge on The Dark Knight nowadays. I think it's very trendy to say it's not as good as we all remember it. And I think there's two prongs that I've seen coming out of this. This is just what I'm seeing on social media. Nolan's occasional difficulty with shooting action scenes, specifically that nighttime lower fifth attack where he's got the Slaughter as the best medicine truck and the rocket launcher and whatnot. That whole sequence, I think even we nitpicked that sequence because it's not very well edited.
Oh, you're talking about the truck chase?
Yes.
Yeah.
Through Lower Wacker?
Yes.
Oh.
I'll just send you that. There's a YouTube video that's fairly famous for breaking down the action in that scene and how many continuity errors there are.
Oh, I'd never really thought about it.
Like,
that way.
one of the vehicles completely changes direction.
Oh, yeah.
But again, I don't think that is something I'm going to knock the movie for. It was also true when the movie came out. I'm not going to watch a YouTube video and see something I'd never seen before and then immediately... Like, have you seen the thing with Spider-Man 2 where he's swinging through the city and Mary Jane's hanging on to him and she's looking at his face with awe and he's a fucking mannequin?
Yeah.
And none of us ever saw it until this guy pointed it out on Twitter. And then somebody else came underneath and said her hair is also blowing the wrong direction.
Oh, man.
She's moving this way and her hair's blowing that way. Anyway, and another thing I'm seeing a lot of lately is Batman Begins is better or as good as The Dark Knight. I'm not saying I agree with these people. I'm not saying I hate these people. I'm just saying there appear to be some trends where people are starting to distance themselves a little bit from The Dark Knight, and I will not be a part of it.
Yeah.
I don't really know. I mean, this is objectively one of Christopher Nolan's best movies. You know, you look at his top tier of, like, The Prestige, The Dark Knight,
Inception,
and, you know, I mean, Memento's a great movie, Interstellar's a great movie, Dunkirk is a great movie, but I don't think they're up to that level. And this is one of the best movies from one of the best directors working today.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know how you make that argument.
I don't either.
It's malcontent.
I will be having my vengeance on Rocky right now. I vote Dark Knight over that Endgame bullshit, even though Endgame was fun.
I think all of us are. The Dark Knight's going to win this.
Dark Knight is the best, certainly one of the best comic book movies ever made.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah.
And one of my favorite movies of that decade too.
It's super rewatchable.
And just think about this too. Iron Man and The Dark Knight came out the same year, same summer.
Yeah.
Just such a crazy. I mean, two of the best.
Ultimately,
right
a very important, in hindsight, a very important summer.
Did you see this in the theater? You like opening weekend
Dark
or whatever?
Knight? Yeah.
I did too, man, and I was blown away. I didn't see it in IMAX. Did your theater have an IMAX, or were you at the Manhattan one?
No. So it was like every Tuesday I went out to a theater in New Rochelle.
Oh.
And the guy who was in charge of that IMAX was leaving to be a part of Obama's Secret Service.
Oh yeah, all right.
Yeah. And so like they didn't say it out loud, but they were trying to, I think, groom me to be the next IMAX guy there. But like I didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a job that's essentially the cushiest that you can get. It's running one projector. You don't have to go anywhere else.
Yeah.
You just have to stay in that IMAX booth.
Yeah.
And everything. But some of the stuff that guy was telling me was like, you know, if this happens, and I was like, oh my God, that's definitely gonna fucking happen. and I know that I could eventually fix it, and who cares? We can give them refunds and, you know, shut down the IMAX for however long it takes. But some of the stuff that he was telling me that could happen, that he had to do in his life or whatever, I was like, man, I don't want to. There's apparently something that happens where you have to get up on the roof and all sorts of shit. And I was like, yeah,
you're gonna strap in.
It doesn't sound good to me.
There are two ways out of this building.
Yeah.
In their custody or that scaffolding.
Yes, so I'm definitely voting Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Sorry, Endgame.
Sorry, Endgame.
By the way, but before we gloss over Endgame, a lot of people are giving love to the little girl having a hankering for cheeseburgers at the end of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I even saw people tweeting about how what began as a product placement ends up being one of the biggest tear-jerking moments of the whole. Still product placement.
What is it from? Is it from?
It's from Iron Man when he gets back and he goes through the Burger King drive-thru.
Yeah.
They
And
got
he's
money
eating and they
from
sits
Burger
down.
King to squeeze cheeseburgers into the movie, and now they want credit for squeezing more cheeseburgers in at the end and making it like, oh, it's like father, like daughter.
Jesus Christ. Get you all the cheeseburgers you need.
What will be going up against the Dark Knight? It's a battle between Doctor Strange, the 4 seed, and Aquaman, the 5.
Mr. Doctor?
So have you seen Aquaman?
No, but even if I saw the Sins video,
Okay.
made some good points.
When I first saw Aquaman in theaters, it was a perfect storm type of thing, because I was with family members and you know, it was a good time.
Mm-hmm.
And afterwards, I gave it credit for being good. Especially, it wasn't. This is where Aquaman is going to get its desserts, right? It's not Suicide Squad. It's not Batman v Superman.
Yeah, exactly. It's also not Wonder Woman.
Yeah, it's not. It's not that as well. And so it feels good because it's not those other bad movies.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think right now, is there any scene in Aquaman that I really do love? And I can't know if I can think of any.
You know, it's made up of so many different parts, and it's really strongest when they get out of the water, honestly, because it's so effects heavy. It's not nearly as bad as it looked like in the previews, because it looked awful in the trailers and stuff like that. And James Wan did this, right?
Yep.
And so I think he was able to kind of get it back up to a good standard. But, you know, the only times that it really pops are like, you know, when they're in the desert. Now, that's a silly set piece. Mm-hmm. And when they're in Italy and when he's on the sub and stuff like that. But this movie is still, like, at least trying to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it succeeds at times. The water stuff and the Patrick Wilson. Patrick Wilson. Like, that's ridiculous. I didn't even recognize him. Like, I love him as an actor, but that's all bullshit.
Jason Momoa is fun.
He is.
He's a lot of fun in this. Okay. I will give. There is one scene in this that for sure, action wise, is good, and it's the probably cheating one shot with Nicole Kidman at the beginning.
Oh yeah.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
But man, as this movie went along, I was like, damn, why is this movie this way? Like this whole fucking quest to get this pitchfork.
Well, there's two side quests, right? You got to find the Elder Scrolls or whatever it is, and then you got to go to fucking Neptune and go through the Hidely-Ho and the cracking shit.
Yeah, you don't have time to resend this movie, but I really just didn't understand why it was laid out this way. None of it made sense. Like let's make the Greek gods important somehow,
Yep.
you know, and then the whole thing where they had to put the key in the floor, and then they would be able to get this presentation and everything, and somehow, some way, many people have gone on this quest.
There's bodies all over the place on this Kraken thing.
Yeah, there's so many people who have gone on this quest, and everything that Nicole Kidman says about that whole thing makes no sense. Like she's like you only the person who is worthy can get in there in the first place. So who are all these other assholes? And then by the end of it, really it's so specific what he had to do. They could have just left it in Atlantis.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there was nobody else could have gotten it.
Yeah.
Based on that.
Yeah. You're going to die if you try to, retrieve it or whatever.
Yeah. So I was just like, that whole quest that you wasted our time. You wasted everyone's time. And then fantastic. You can't see anything. Huge climax at the end. Bullshit battle. I'm tired. I can actually go to sleep to those battles.
Yeah, me too.
And we are all stupider for having listened to it.
Yes.
Amber Heard is pretty though.
She is pretty. Aquaman goes up against the 4-seed Doctor Strange.
Yep.
This isn't a movie that I was not expecting to enjoy at all.
Oh yeah.
And I ended up. This is one of my favorites. I think out of all the Marvel, the whole group, because Benedict Cumberbatch is he's just delightful, isn't he?
He's a perfect asshole that you still want to root for.
Yes.
It's like Sherlock, right? Sherlock is an asshole that you root for.
Yeah, you'll see hints of Sherlock, and of course Dr. House, which is another Sherlock derivative. These type of things are all in this, but I was just not expecting this. Like when they announced this, I was like, okay, yet another an origin story thing that I'm going to have to sit here through millions of reams of exposition to get to the. But I enjoyed it totally. I love smart people doing shit that they didn't know that they could do type of,
Oh yeah.
Though I love that type of stuff.
And I think Scott Derrickson, who directed it, has come out and said that there's no actual physical combat that happens in this movie. Like all of the fights between the Ancient One and Hannibal are throwing stuff at each other, right? And opening portals and shit like that, and injuring them that way. I don't think there's any actual hand-to-hand combat in this. And it's fantastic because you're seeing the sorcerers use their powers and their brains and the mirror dimension and this and a swirly thing to get rid of them and stuff like that. And, the conclusion is a perfect non-violent way to end this.
Yeah.
You've never seen it before or since.
Yeah, the only thing that, although I was skeptical, and I'm still not. I'm still a little skeptical because the whole magic thing is so murky. When you start throwing magic, I'm already confused about who's the strongest superhero, which superhero weapon is the strongest, and now we got a guy whose answer is just magic.
Yeah, you come out of this thinking he is the most powerful superhero. How could you, top that essentially? Yeah. But they found ways to marginalize.
And if it's not for fucking Star-Lord, he would have solved Thanos, too.
Yep. Fucking Star-Lord.
Yeah.
I am not here for the defense of Star-Lord.
Yeah.
This movie's really clever. And it does, first of all, the visual effects, specifically the Inception-like buildings expanding and bending into each other and unrolling, and that shit is mind-blowing. And it doesn't even look like an effect. I don't think 10 years from now you're going to look at that and go, that looks fake. I think they did such a good job making it look real. Anyway, and then also that whole thing with the apple, where he first uses a time turner and the apple is whole and then it's rotten and it's whole and it's rotten. I've never seen, now maybe it's the character and his abilities. I've never seen anything like that in a movie. It was very, very cool. So yeah, it's definitely in the top third of my MCU.
And they make that cape a character.
Yeah, they do.
Oh, it's so great.
Oh, so awesome.
And it's probably the best use of that cape because they keep going back to the well a little bit in the subsequent movies. I can't wait to see Doctor Strange 2, though, and see where they take that character. I hope they give Rachel McAdams a little bit more to work with than the wet blanket girlfriend that's still in love despite all of the
It's going
assholery.
to be called Doctor Strange 2 Electric Dormammu.
Yes, that'd be awesome.
Oh, nice.
Which, that's one of the best climaxes of any movie too.
Oh, yeah,
is
man.
That whole thought process. We can't physically beat this thing.
Yeah.
So let's annoy it. And that scene is so entertaining, well done. Like, you can't leave Doctor Strange without a smile on your face.
Yeah.
There are a couple of things. And you're talking about Rachel McAdams. That whole scene where he comes to her in that ethereal form and she has really no questions whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly.
But then she doesn't believe any of his story. But then he definitely transports.
Yep.
And then she's like, "Huh, weird."
Yeah,
like,
doesn't tell anything, doesn't try to contact him, doesn't do anything.
That whole sequence in the hospital makes no sense to me.
Yeah.
But other than that, I love that movie.
This movie's fantastic.
Yeah. So
it's up there. It's probably my third favorite. We went through and ranked our favorite of the MCU, and I think it's my third favorite total. It's that and Black Panther are battling it out for 3.
So
who would win in a Black Panther versus Doctor Strange fight? Right.
Doctor Strange. I think we've established Doctor Strange should probably win most of these. So I'm going to pick Doctor Strange here. That's no surprise.
Yeah, me neither. Now, Aquaman, I was surprised to see how far it is up on the DC list because it is a fun movie. Mm-hmm. But it's funny. These are the 2 most probably effects-driven movies of each individual cinematic universes. Mm-hmm. But Doctor Strange pulls it off perfectly.
I'm going to vote for Aquaman. No, I'm just kidding. Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Hilarious.
The movie that I haven't seen. So Doctor Strange will move on to face off against the Dark Knight in the next round. Then we have 2 seed Black Panther versus the 7 seed Man of Steel.
Ooh. How bad is Man of Steel these days versus the DC movies that have come after?
It shines up nice.
It does. It
was a severe drop off from the Dark Knight trilogy, right? Mm-hmm. But in hindsight, it looks like a fucking peach right now.
I just watched most of this like a week ago, and the problems I have with it, I still have with it. But I think he's good.
Henry Cavill?
Yeah. And I think the theme that Zimmer did the theme came up with for Man of Steel that is woven into Batman v Superman. I think that's an excellent theme. I love Kevin Costner in this movie.
Yeah.
Even though he's got terrible tornado advice.
Yeah.
Michael Shannon's fun. The movie itself, it bogs itself down in so many other stories that we've seen before. Like, I don't need Krypton and Russell Crowe and sending baby Superman off to Earth.
And they spent a lot of time on that.
They sure as fuck did. Like 20 minutes to open the movie, and it looks like, Valerian and the Stargirl of Tomorrow or whatever. It holds up better now just because, compared to everything else, rising tide lifts all boats.
Yep. But I think this was my initial, this is my initial, getting bored with a fight scene, was this one. Like, this is the one that now it seems like everybody is still somewhat, even maybe subconsciously emulating, where you put somebody that Superman and Zod are equal strengths, and the only thing that they seem to be able to do to each other is throw each other around, throw them into buildings, and it looks cool.
Yeah.
But it does. That it doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
that's the problem. Is you're playing a video game where you're trying to see how many bricks you can have exploding at any one moment.
Yeah,
and it's them flying around. the metropolis and like smashing into buildings and more throwing into buildings. There's nothing that they do that seems like this is what superheroes with advanced powers would do. It's a fist fight on a much bigger level.
Yeah.
And then of course it ends with a neck break that
it's been a while since I've seen it. How did they explain that he was able to do that to a person with equal strength?
I don't think they did.
Really? So it's
The
conceivable
power of love.
The power of love.
Mhm.
Yeah, because he was about to kill.
He's about
Lois,
to
right?
zap Amy Adams
With the eyes. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they never explained that. Like that felt like that shouldn't have been able to happen.
Yeah, and plus, is she in love with him by the end of this movie, or is he just in love with Lois? Because I know they get together for Batman v Superman.
They're already just together in that movie, aren't they?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah, because she's like in the tub and he comes. Yeah, she is.
Well, she goes up to that what essentially is a Supergirl's wrecked car or spaceship up in the, that's where she meets. Fuck! She likes him as much as he likes her, I think.
Okay. But they start off as co-workers, and she's like kind of dismissive.
Not
to
even
him, right?
co-workers. He's like at the military site, and he saves her because she sets off the something, and then she writes a story about her mysterious alien guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Am I remembering this wrong?
Yeah,
So
I'm unclear on when the relationship starts, because she does influence his ability to do whatever, right? Because he has such strong feelings for her.
Yeah, and she's up on that ship, and Russell Crowe's like leading her around on Zod's ship.
Yeah.
So I think they kind of like Speed fell in love through.
Wouldn't it be funny if like they do like Superman is in a Superman costume, and he's hugging on Lois and he's kissing her, and then he steps back and he's got a big boner. I guess it's not as tight as like his previous iterations, but like little
It go through the fabric.
We go through the
fabric.
super strong dick.
Yeah, man, totally. But they also had that was that whole thing where the ships come and they like suck all the metal or
yeah
and all that, and it's yet another one of those bad guy sucks all the metal for somewhere type of, because this is just like in Spider-Man 2 where they do that too.
It's X-Men Apocalypse.
There's it just it all that noise just gets so boring after a while. But you're right. I think it's way above what came later.
It is, because this is the first DCU movie, right?
Yep.
And Batman versus Superman came after it. And now we've got Suicide Squad, Justice League, Wonder Woman, which is, the class of the whole program. And then Aquaman, which is kind of like around there.
Shazam.
And then Shazam.
And Shazam, yeah. But, this is kind of like the high watermark. And who directed this one? It was Zack Snyder.
Snyder.
Right? Yeah, that's right. I wish they would at least try to attain this
Wish
level
they would
of
have kept
quality.
that Zack Snyder around. He was doing okay with this movie.
What was interesting about this is that, like, it was criticized for being, like, too gritty and grim and stuff like that for a regular Superman movie. And since then, they've gone all the way over to the other side with Justice League and made it a fucking cartoon. So there's got to be some middle ground there.
They don't know what they're doing, man. Even this new... Okay, so now we've cast Robert Pattinson as Batman from Matt Reeves' The Batman.
Right.
Which they're now deciding they want to make a trilogy out of that. But that's not connected at all to the DCEU or to Ben Affleck's Batman. They're just throwing
Are you
darts
serious?
Yes.
So there's going to be Joker and this one.
Yes.
That is completely but they're still forging ahead with the DCEU,
and another
right?
Suicide Squad movie. Yes. And Wonder Woman 1984.
Yeah.
They're just going in all the directions. And then whatever ends up making the most money, they'll try and copy paste, and they'll fall. Like they really just need a whole regime change over there, a new way of thinking.
I mean, we've talked about it before, but just stop it. Just reboot the whole timeline.
Yeah,
stop it. Start with Robert Pattinson. I love that idea.
Oh, it's a great casting.
Yeah, for sure. It goes up. Man of Steel goes up against Black Panther, the 2 seed. Black Panther is excellent. I mean, I can see where some people think it's overrated, though. Because there's a lot more to Black Panther than just the action spectacle here.
Mm-hmm.
This is about inclusion, you know. So sometimes it's like it's easy to elevate a movie higher than it may deserve, quote unquote, because of things like that. But I don't think you can overlook that, though.
No, especially in this instance. And same thing with Wonder Woman too.
Yeah. And I feel like the action is perfectly fine, has a great villain. Michael B. Jordan is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Can we just make sure Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan never stop working together?
Yeah, right.
Because they've made 3 excellent films together.
Yeah.
And there's no reason to think they would stop.
What was the third one? Fruitvale Station?
Creed.
Oh, that's right. Wow.
Coogler's one that doesn't, I don't think, get his due when we talk about these up-and-comers, and even amongst ourselves.
Well, and Jesus Christ, watch Creed, man. That guy knows how to... that is the best Rocky movie in forever.
Yeah, you're right.
That might be like the second or third best Rocky movie.
It might be. I really like Rocky Balboa. I like the way that they took that whole story. But Creed is so much more believable and so much more tangible. And yeah, you're right.
There's
It's
hardly any editing in that first fight.
Mhm.
And then I think the second fight, there's maybe not that much editing either. It's like all one shot.
Wow.
There's
so
a great
good.
classic Petra song in the 90s called Creed, My Creed. This is my creed.
Oh, I've heard that song.
I believe in God the Father.
And let's not forget there was a band called that too.
That's with arms wide open.
Yeah, exactly. But
I've created him.
yeah. But Black Panther's just good. There's so many good little action pieces in this. There are some stupid things in this too. I mean, especially again, the fucking final battle, which always seems to have to be, we have to make this battle even more than that last battle we did.
Yeah.
And then we just keep piling people upon people into an open field until we're going to have like Lord of the Rings Marvel with just Marvel characters.
Yeah. And it's amazing because that first fight between Killmonger and T'Challa is phenomenal. It's there's a couple of like hyper edits, but like there's no score to it. Yeah, he kills Forrest Whitaker, so you know he means business, and it's brutal. It's like it's like a Bane Batman type of moment where shit's going down.
He does that classic villain mistake of letting gravity decide things.
Exactly.
He does.
I'm gonna throw his ass over. Yeah. And then he does a Peter Pan right off this.
I mean, it totally works for the movie, but that's not what he would do.
Yeah.
He would actually take that guy's head off right in front of all those people.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
And
well.
I think Winston Duke is one of my favorite parts of this entire movie.
Yeah.
The moment where Martin Freeman starts talking like, actually, this is when they just shout his ass down.
Yeah.
They
It's
bark
so
at him, don't they?
Yeah.
So fucking great.
I love that action sequence from the casino that turns into the car chase. And
Oh, that scene is great. Yeah, that's what's the
Ulysses Claw.
Yeah, but it's in Korea. And
Oh,
the same,
Busan?
It's
Yeah. Oh, it's great. You can tell Andy Serkis is having the most fun of everybody in this fucking movie. Where does he get his hand cut off? What movie is he in?
Age of Ultron.
Yeah,
It's Age of
when
Ultron.
They go
That's
to his ship, and he's Scarlet Witch.
And Quicksilver.
Yeah,
That's right. Yeah, it's so good. It's so good.
Yeah, this is a really good movie, and don't forget that triumvirate of Lupita Nyong'o and Denai Guerrero, and I can't remember if that's how you pronounce the name, and Letitia Wright, who I mean, you almost have an official like Bond type of thing going on in this place, because Letitia Wright's playing the Q.
Yep.
And everybody's super smart. There's all this great technology. Man, this movie's so good.
And they had all these female characters fleshed out and used properly, and then they haven't come back to it at all in any of the other times of Black Panther has been in
exactly.
there. They've show up for an action shot.
Because everything is too big for people who don't have wildly crazy superpowers.
Right.
to help out with.
Everybody was talking about, with Infinity War and Endgame, a moment where Letitia Wright, or when Shuri and Tony would get together and have like a snark off, right?
Mm-hmm.
Never happened.
No.
Yeah.
She got that one snarky thing at Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah.
it.
Like, why didn't you try the what is it? She's
Mapping all the neurons.
Or whatever, and he's just obviously like, oh yeah, shit, that should have been what I did. So yeah, I'm going to be voting Black Panther here.
Black Panther.
Black Man of Steel.
Oh, see, now that's a movie I'd watch.
There's actually a black Superman in the comics on another timeline, and Michael B. Jordan, after Black Panther, it was a very popular, trendy thing to suggest him for the next Superman, and he would kill in that role. But he said, nah, I'll play this guy, and he names first and last name this obscure black Superman who's part of this one weird run, who in that timeline, he's Superman.
Ah.
Yeah, I've watched the shit out of it.
Yeah, man.
But it's Black Panther, of course.
Nice.
This one might be a pretty tough one. 3 seed Tim Burton's Batman 1989 against X-Men First Class.
Ooh. This is a very tough one.
This is a tough one.
At least for me.
Yeah. So going back to where we were talking about X-Men 2 and Spider-Man 2, those movies are really like linchpins for like comic book movies being taken seriously and everything. We tend to forget about the Tim Burton Batman in this because it's not in this era, especially with what evolved from the 1989 Batman. It didn't lead to this wave of like great comic book films.
Yeah.
Even in its own series. And if you remember in the 90s, everything was like, I don't even know if we can blame Batman for this, but like everything that was getting adapted in the 90s, you know, it was like The Shadow, and there was
The
Spawn, The Phantom,
The Crow.
Yeah. They were all these like lower tier type comic book features. And I guess it was because I think Sony had the rights to everything at one point and then sold it to Disney. Oh shit. Whoever was in, it might have been Peters and Goober. They might have sold that shit.
That's insane.
I don't know.
Because they buried Spider-Man, Superman.
Yeah.
Until the 2000s.
Yeah.
Right?
And there was discussions because it was back in the 90s they were supposed to come out with that Superman with Nicolas Cage and then what else? They had all this stuff that they want to do, but if you listen to Kevin Smith talk to, and he was talking to somebody who's like a big deal in comic books, and I can't think of his name right now, sorry. But they were talking about back in the 90s where if you were trying to pitch a big comic book movie, studios were like, what do you mean? This isn't viable.
That's insane too, by the way, because Batman 1989 made a fuck ton of money, right?
Yeah, but they just didn't take it seriously at all. And it could be, I don't know, it could be just due to the fact how the Batman movies evolved later on that led to that discussion. But you would think after 1989, there would have been all these different adaptations. Like, let's do a Spider-Man, let's do but no, none of this stuff ever got off the ground. Mm-hmm. So the 1989 Batman, that I was 12 years old when that came out, and I loved every single bit of that movie.
Michael Keaton is my favorite Batman.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, and
Bruce Wayne.
This is where you get that argument about Keaton versus Bale, right? Like, people who grew up during our era are Keaton people, and I still like Bale a lot, though.
I like Bale a lot, but Keaton had more personality.
Yeah.
You can make an argument that maybe you like Bale better as Batman and Keaton better as Bruce Wayne, or vice versa, right? Or even throw in Affleck in there, and I think that's a reasonable thing to do. But Keaton was just the way he moved, the way that his eyes would dart, you could tell there's an intelligence behind that. There's a little bit of comic timing because he's a comedian, and he's certainly not physically imposing or anything like that, like Bale becomes later on. But he's the perfect blend of wit and smarts and action and quips. It's just he's the man. He's the man.
Mm-hmm.
He's the man. I'd have nothing else to add.
Well,
Do you like this version? You don't like this version.
I like it.
I
think it's goofy as fuck.
Yeah. It is. It's kind of goofy as fuck. But think about, though, back in 1989, it felt like the darkest thing ever.
Sure as hell did.
Absolutely.
Because especially, you put Jack Nicholson in as the Joker, and I don't think we were used to a character that evil and psycho, but was always laughing on the outside.
Yep.
That weird, incongruous sort of thing that was going on. We weren't used to that.
No.
But that was the first time I felt like comic book movies were taken seriously. There was, you had the Adam West version before that. That was what
That's super goofy.
That's what we were always comparing Batman's or any kind of comic book stuff to. And you think about the Joker in that series and everything.
Cesar Romero.
Yeah, it's that you didn't get that sense. It was, I think they're more lighthearted than, even though there might be some psychotic tendencies, it wasn't as bad as when Jack Nicholson comes into it.
Yeah.
There's a definite scary quality to that whole thing.
Yeah, man. I mean, when you say it's goofy relative to the Nolan trilogy, obviously.
Yeah.
But I don't. And there's a couple of things like where he electrocutes the guy and all that stuff. But like,
there's still cartoony things in it.
Sure.
That whole parade at the end.
Yeah. What's wrong with that?
I'm not a fan.
What's wrong with that? He's trying to poison Gotham. This town needs an enema.
Money. Who do you trust? And then the absolutely like makes no sense part where he's standing there in front of the Batwing and Batman's just missing him, which goes back a long way to that, Lego Batman movie, right?
Yeah.
Like, why didn't he just kill this guy? But Joker seems pretty confident. He's not going to be able to hit me with this shit.
Yeah. Wow, I'm surprised to hear this. I figured that you've held this in higher esteem.
I mean, I did it in 1989.
Okay.
But my view of the film has been informed by the 20 years... 30 years,
yeah, I know, right?
that have come since then. Did you see yesterday on the subreddit, somebody put a whole post, how old is Jeremy? When he talks about nostalgia, he sounds like he's 45 years old. I literally just turned 44. So I just commented, close.
I love it. So I've gone back and watched it fairly recently, and it held up perfectly for me.
That Danny Elfman score goes
good.
a long way.
It's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think everything about this, even Kim Basinger is great. Like, she's got some agency. Knox, Arliss, whoever plays that dude.
It's Robert Wall.
Yeah. He's great. Six is good. Six, it's Japanese. I know because I got it in Japan. Like, super quotable. I love it.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I enjoy it too. It goes up against X-Men First Class. Here's another movie I didn't expect to like because I don't like prequels.
Yep. Yeah, and this is prequel as fuck too.
Yeah.
All the way back to the 60s.
But so many good people in this, and I like this. I like this conflict as it is before they become older, and they're arguing about the same fucking things.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about Charles and
yes, 30 and 40 years later.
Yeah, and Eric. Yeah.
But the way that it sets this up in this movie, where they're friends and everything, and you can see that beginning to form a rift towards the end. I like it a lot better because now I'm like, what's the point of even arguing about this anymore?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Old friend.
Yeah.
This movie is like superheroes meets James Bond.
Mm-hmm.
Because the villain has a yacht lair.
Yes.
And anytime a villain in a movie has a lair on a yacht, there's a little bit of James Bond influence going
That's
on.
correct.
Kevin Bacon is awesome in this movie.
Yeah.
He is. He's indestructible.
Yeah, and I think if you had either cast that role more poorly or not written it as beefy, it could have hindered the movie a lot. Because then it does just become prequel, nostalgia, fan service. Whereas he represents an actual threat, and someone similar enough to Magneto that you have that thing there at the end. Of course, they have that connection from when Magneto's a kid, but you can see that they're the same, even though they're about to kill each other. They're at the end. I love that scene with the two of them where Magneto steals his helmet, and then Patrick Stewart is not allowed to get into his brain anymore, and he uses the quarter, and he passes that quarter through his guys.
It's such an intense scene.
Yeah, it is.
Like, because this guy has been set up to be literally indestructible, and you got that wonderfully done shot scene where the nuclear guy tries to nuclearize Kevin Bacon, but he makes him swallow it or something like that.
Yeah.
And he has that explosion internally, and oh my God. It's heartbreaking.
There's that awesome moment where Eric goes down to, is it Argentina?
Something in Central or South America.
This is one of those a lot of Germans like moved to after the war. They hid out in this one country, I think. I can't remember, but he goes into that restaurant and he like basically he starts moving that knife all the way through through there and just slices everybody up that's in there.
But before then, we have almost like a Inglourious Bastards type moment where he's talking in Portuguese or Spanish or whatever it is, and kind of like getting along with the locals and all that shit, and then shit turns dark.
Yeah,
but greatly dark.
Oh yeah.
Really, really, really great Wolverine cameo in this movie.
Oh yeah.
When they first start going off recruiting. This is my favorite X-Men movie. Out of all of them.
Yeah.
Original cast, new cast. I do think it's frustrating to me, and maybe me alone, that once we went back and made this in the 60s, they've sort of been doing this decade jump with all the X-Men movies to where we've got Dark Phoenix coming out now. And timeline-wise, like, they should all look 30 years older than they do. Because they all look pretty much like they did in
Is Dark
Apocalypse.
Phoenix supposed to be, like, present day?
I think it's supposed to be, like, in the 90s, which would
really?
mean those characters are 5-10 years away from the characters we see in X-Men.
Yeah.
And they have fucking blended all these actors into one movie, suggesting it's all one timeline.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying. They didn't have to do that.
I agree.
All right.
But there's also a great scene too. I think I get a lot of joy out of the superhero learning what their powers are. It's in a lot of movies, but I tend to like it every time because I don't like the nonchalant nature where it's like, well, I can do this, and I'm not even one bit impressed that I can do it because it's what I knew I could do from birth. The scene where Eric is moving the satellite everything, and Fassbender's got that look on his face like, I fucking did this shit, and I love stuff like that. That movie came out of nowhere for me. Thought it was a complete surprise. Like I said, didn't think I was going to like it at all. And so now we have a very hard decision, I think. X-Men First Class versus Batman 1989. You guys go first.
Batman.
X-Men.
Yeah.
Oh, just like that. Wasn't that hard, apparently.
Oh, Jesus. No, I love First Class. It is number 2 in X-Men movies for me. And this definitely was one of the ones where I was looking at the bracket and I was like, that's going to hurt. Yeah. But I am so down with... This is one of the best Tim Burton movies ever made. This is one of the best Batman ever made. And like I said, I love Keaton. I love Nicholson in this role. This is one of his most iconic roles in an iconic career. So I have to go with that.
This is going to take me a second.
We can talk about Zoe Kravitz while you're waiting.
I think she's pretty.
Yeah.
I like Zoe Kravitz.
I do, yeah.
I like her when she has butterfly wings.
Did
you see the naked Rolling Stone cover that she did?
I did not.
Because her mom, Lisa Bonet, did a naked
cover
that shoot for... she wasn't naked on the cover, she was naked on the inside. And Zoe Kravitz did the same, like almost the same poses and everything.
Have you seen that weird like Michelob Ultra commercial with her in like the Norwegian mountains?
No.
She like sits down at this table and there's like high sensitive microphones everywhere.
Oh, is that her?
Like opens it and you can, that's
the
her.
ASMR thing where, Oh, I didn't realize that was her. I didn't really.
Well, if it's not, I'm going to be really embarrassed.
No,
I'm pretty sure that's her.
She looks a lot like her. She's got the tattoos, too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Guys, seriously, this is 50-50.
This is Sophie's choice right here.
It really is. Football in the groin had a football in the groin. Okay. God damn.
That's great.
I know this is a crazy. It's too.
I'm thinking about all these different scenes that are in all these movies, and X-Men's got cooler action.
But does it have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moon?
Hey, don't be trying to argue your movie.
Doesn't have that.
This ain't a court of law.
Batman has that big Prince number in the museum.
Mm-hmm. Party man.
All hail.
Party man.
New king's in town.
Where does he get those wonderful toys?
Yep. Oh. I may have to flip a coin.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
Like literally can't choose. I'm going to let fate decide for me, which is hilarious because what's this winner going to go up against?
Black Panther?
Screwed.
I think either of them has a chance.
On my book. I'm voting Black Panther.
Spoilers. You want to get nuts? Come on, let's get nuts.
Stop quoting your movie. I can't quote my movie as much.
Yeah, what's a quote from X-Men First Class? Old friend?
I got one. Eric, no. You know I'm right. That's in there somewhere.
Yeah, you stand corrected.
I'm gonna go with Batman. Jeremy just made the case. Had nothing to do with it. Okay.
Eric, no.
So we have in the West bracket we have Dark Knight versus Doctor Strange, and we have Black Panther versus Batman.
I think that's a good matchup on both of those.
Yeah, I'd say so.
By the way, we've got Marvel versus DC and Marvel versus DC in the next round in this region.
That's good.
Yeah,
that's good.
After having 3 Marvels in the first one. Okay, so you guys know that CNN has done stuff like on the decades, like the 70s and the 80s and the 90s and the 2000s and all that stuff. Love that stuff. I'm addicted to that, actually. Anytime that series comes on, it's always appointment television for me. So CNN is now doing, starting this Sunday, an original series called The Movies. So each week, the show's going to focus on a specific decade of film, starting at the dawn of U.S. cinema, like early stuff, going up into the present day. This week, this Sunday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time, they're going to do the 80s, one of our favorite decades. So that's going to be super, super cool. They're going to have stuff like The Breakfast Club. They're going to have Sincast favorite Back to the Future, of course. They're going to have The Terminator. Like, this is really going to cover all the 80s stuff that we've talked about exhaustively, and I can't wait to see what they're having to say because they've got it coming from like the filmmakers themselves. So like Steven Spielberg's going to be on there, and like other filmmakers, all the way up to when they get to later, like Rob Zombie's going to be on there. So every week after that, they're going to do a different decade. So this is just the 80s starting off. The show's produced by Tom Hanks, who you may have heard of, and Gary Getzman, and it's in association with HBO. So there's like a bunch of heavy hitters right now. We've got CNN, HBO, Tommy Hanks. That's what I call him because, you know, we're buddies. And everybody's kind of on board and really giving you a super high production value of a look into the movies. You know it's going to be good. So check out CNN original series, The Movies. You know I'm going to be there. 9 o'clock Eastern Time. That's 8 p.m. Central Time. And I can't do the math to give you Pacific Time. But it's 9 o'clock Eastern Time this Sunday. Super awesome. Go watch it. I'm going to be watching it too, and we can all talk about it.
All right, so we're going to go to the East bracket now, and the number 1 seed there, Batman Begins, versus the 8 seed Ant-Man.
How's everybody? I love Batman Begins. It's got so many great things in it.
Yeah.
Could you legitimately make a case that it's better than The Dark Knight, or even on the same level as The Dark Knight?
I couldn't.
I couldn't either.
Not what I gravitate towards in movies. I couldn't make a case for that movie. I think that the idea of him having to go through prison and then climb that mountain or whatever and get trained by Liam Neeson's.
Liam Neeson isn't killing anybody in this scene.
I think all of that is great. I think it's all the stuff after that gives me a headache though. Him coming over and interrupting the party and saying I'm going to do all this shit to Gotham, and then the big train sequence and all that stuff. And everything that happens after that I don't like as much as I like the beginning of it.
So you like the Batman Begins beginning more than Batman Begins ending?
Yes.
I think I'm almost the opposite, I think, because I love the Scarecrow stuff. I think that's fun. I like his relationship with Katie Holmes a lot more than I like his relationship with Maggie Gyllenhaal. I don't know, maybe just because it's such a different actress that it you don't feel the history behind them and stuff like that. But yeah, I see what you're saying, and I do love the whole League of Shadows training sequence, especially when he's getting initiated, where they're all in their rows and all that shit.
This is another thing I hate too, is that I'm pretty sure in Batman Begins they call him Ra's al Ghul, and in the cartoon it's Ra's al Ghul, and so now there's two different interpretations of how it should be said. So if Ra's al Ghul is dead. Yeah. If you don't say Ra's al Ghul, you're not,
Jesus Christ.
I remember when we came out with that video.
Oh, people were giving a shit?
Yeah, people were like, it's Ra's. Well,
fuck
it's
you.
because the cartoon does Ra's. It's nowhere else that it does.
The movies definitely do Ra's.
Yeah, and we've always done what the movie supplies with us in except in rare occasions. But because I remember even when we did the Mortal Kombat thing, and the one outtake in there is that Survivor thing at the end.
Yeah.
And we spelled Raiden the exact way they spelled it in the movie credits. And there were all these people who were like, Raiden's not spelled that way, blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, look at the credits.
What's funny is those people are why we make the videos.
Yeah.
That is what we're having fun with.
Yes.
Everyone likes to nitpick. Only we are hated for it.
Yeah, I know.
This is great. This is only Christopher Nolan's really third big movie. He did that movie Following, which I'd never seen. You've seen that, right?
It's like a student film.
But it's weird that he got this huge property based on Memento and Insomnia.
Well, I think he got the property based on they were giving movies to smaller independent directors at this point. The Sam Raimi and the Bryan Singer effect started working for Nolan as well, and that's why I started giving those guys those type of movies.
Yeah, these movies, the Batman movies, almost made Nolan the mega name director. Like when he started making them, he wasn't that. Like you said, he just made those two smaller movies. I like the first 2/3 of this movie. I'm with you, Chris, on the once Ra's shows back up, it becomes infinitely less interesting to me. But I like the training, and then I like all of the middle section where Bruce is learning how to Batman, where they ordered the cowls, but they break too easy, so they have to order 10,000 more, and he's fitting the earpiece into the ear, and he's learning from Morgan Freeman all the gadgets that he can tweak to his own. The first time he breaks in to talk to Gary Oldman, he's just basically in a ski mask, right? And he's got a stapler, and he goes from that to Batman by the end of the movie, and I enjoy seeing that. It's a very year one kind of feel to that, and year one is both a film and a comic run that goes back to Batman's first year. The story between year one and Batman Begins have nothing in common, but getting to see how he, like you talked about, you enjoy seeing people who are learning how to use their powers. Well, Batman doesn't have any powers, but he's learning how to use his gadgets and his money even, and I like that part of it. But the last third is just kind of a muddled generic action.
I kind of like the whole angle of the hallucinogenics, like making, instead of a big plague or something like that infecting everybody, it's just people losing their own minds, and it's like Gotham's going to tear itself apart. I like that idea more than I do like sending the train into the building or whatever. It is.
Yeah.
But that part is very cool, where you're seeing what they're seeing. It's a very cool shot of Katie Holmes when she sees Batman while she's tripping balls and all that.
Yeah.
And it's like,
yeah.
That's the Batman that Scarecrow sees the first time he gets his own shit on him. It's one of the scariest fucking things I've ever seen.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ant-Man is it's a perfectly fine, perfectly fun movie. Paul Rudd anchors that thing completely. And then you have great you have a great scene stealer from Michael Pena. And we've discussed this 100 million times. I know it's been discussed online 100 million times. I think the Edgar Wright version, wherever that, in the multiverse somewhere, is a way better movie that we're still talking about today if he makes that. Peyton Reed did okay.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this movie's so much better than the sequel to it. It had some surprises. It had those Michael Pena, which is very Edgar Wrightian, asides and all that. It's got a nice dynamic between Lost and Hank and
Lost. You're starting to
Basic
turn into me.
Instinct. Evangeline Lilly.
Yeah.
And Michael Douglas.
And Michael Douglas and Paul Rudd have a nice chemistry together too. Yeah, I like this movie a lot. Every time it comes on, like I have a good time with it. Corey Stoll is really good in this. All the individual parts work really well, and I do like the little sight gags at the end.
Yeah,
where like the Thomas the Train is
that has started to become a thing in every movie with some where there's people who are ant size.
Right.
That has started to happen in everything. Downsizing has it. The Lego Movie 2 has it.
It's maybe the funniest part of downsizing. In fact,
yeah,
really the only funny part.
It might be, yeah. But yeah, Ant-Man's one of those things that everything is just perfectly good. Paul Rudd is so likable. The story itself is a basic, hey, I can get into this way, whatever. It's just it never elevates, and I feel like it could have.
Yeah, I mean, this technology is the basis for the most important movie of the MCU, right?
Yeah. I
did that in air quotes for.
This movie above all else though is the one that makes me like a little upset at Marvel because of the idea that I understand. Like, look, we can't argue with the results, right? They make billions of dollars with these movies, so they know what they're doing. It's just that I always have felt like your brand, you're making everything conformed isn't it what's making the money here. Your brand of is the characters themselves, the storylines you put them in, and I don't think it matters how you make the movie. And just look at the success of Logan or The Dark Knight, these movies that took an actual film approach to the way they shot their movie and did the story and everything. And we're going to see this later on with that Joker movie that's coming out too. That's going to be an actual a film.
Yes, that's right.
And you're going to see that people will come as long as those characters are in there. And it's one of the things about Captain Marvel where she gets her new suit at the end of it or like towards the last 2/3 of it. And it's the red fucking suit.
Yeah,
that looks like fucking Iron Man and Ant-Man and all these other ones that you have, and it's made as this big moment, like that's where she got that suit.
Yeah,
and you're like, well, shit, man, everybody has that suit.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's like Team Marvel here. We're all like putting the same fucking colors on and everything.
Yep.
Anyway, this is an easy one for me. Batman Begins.
I'd say Batman Begins.
This is a bug on my microphone.
I've been trying to swat that bitch.
Batman Begins. No question.
Yeah.
Ant-Man can suck it.
Suck his tiny...
I mean, if we're going to... That biggening, smallening technology from Ant-Man 2 should have saved the day in Endgame before any time travel nonsense was necessary. That's all I'm saying. They throw that shit around in that movie like it's fucking gummy bears, like it's candy, like it's fucking big, small, big, small. Anytime we need it, big, small, big, small. And then the only way they use it in Endgame is so you can time travel.
Yeah.
Go big and small and battle.
Yeah.
Go up Thanos' butthole.
Yeah.
Go up Thanos' butthole.
Right.
I'm telling you.
God damn it.
In the name of Zeus's butthole.
Yeah. You get out of your cell. I thought you might be able to tell us that because it might be important. Maybe. Okay. Our 4 seed is Deadpool.
Yes,
Our
it is.
5 seed is Watchmen. We are still in the East bracket.
It's a toughie.
It is a toughie. In Deadpool, that's another movie that I was not expecting anything from.
Mm-hmm.
The leaked trailer that came out of the San Diego Comic-Con. I was like, oh, it's one of those movies, huh? Where the guy looks at the camera and he's all knowing and wink wink and everything and let's see how many times we can insert the word vagina into the script. Although I'm not even sure vagina does even show up in Deadpool. But like it, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like
Dick shows up a lot.
Dick does show up. The main source of humor though in Deadpool is combining something, you know, like having two things combine and having a baby for something.
Right.
You know, that's the main sort of humor that comes from that. But I was very surprised at how much I enjoyed Deadpool when I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Are you sick of Deadpool yet?
Yep.
It seems like you're sick of Deadpool.
Yep.
Even this version?
I liked Deadpool 2, the movie,
Right.
when I saw it. I saw it again a few weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of rolled my eyes.
I'm not sick of Deadpool.
I think his shtick is played. He needs to be a background character. Make an X-Men, X-Force, something. Have him show up in 1 or 2 scenes. Perfect.
Oh yeah, he would be a perfect side character.
Yeah,
Carrying
at
a
this
whole
point,
movie.
At this point,
Yes.
I agree.
I love Deadpool, the first movie. The second one is a lot of the same, is all I'm saying. And I don't think there are that many notes for this guy to hit. Right?
Yeah, I mean, we already see that he's got a heart. He's trying to help, you know, certain people and all that stuff. He's obviously committed to his girlfriend and all that. But I don't know. There's still like a little room to where, like, when he shoots that evil orderly in Deadpool 2, when you know he's not supposed to.
Yeah.
And you know he's been in the training and all that stuff. You think there's no, and then he pops that motherfucker. I'm like, that's awesome. So I think there's still
problem
enough.
is that's in the first 20 minutes of the movie.
I agree. I mean, I'm still good with that. The first 2 movies, and I agree. Another one maybe, or maybe if he were a part of X-Force and he's not carrying the entirety
Is
of the
there
movie.
any thought of making the third one?
Weren't they talking about doing an X-Force though?
They were, but it's all up in the air now that Fox got bought by Disney.
Yeah. By the way, did you see the Ad Astra trailer?
Okay,
Yeah.
not only they put a trailer out, they bought the top spot on trending on Twitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For Ad Astra.
Yeah.
For a movie you, like 3 weeks ago, you pulled from the schedule.
Yeah.
Why are you spending money on that now?
Well, we were all speculating on the summer preview because it was supposed to come out in May.
Yep.
Like 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Yep.
and
or
now
from
it's September.
Yeah.
Which
So-
is bad news, by the way.
It is bad news.
Yeah, I mean the trailer looks fine. But they've really like trying to make it prestige, right?
It looks like the kind of movie that could go either way.
Yeah.
So when you take that with the date shuffling, because this is the 3rd or 4th time it's been pushed. I think it was originally supposed to be December 2018.
Yes.
Then I think it's probably pretty
There's
bad.
a scene in there where there's like a gunfight between lunar rovers or something in there. Did you see that?
Yes.
They're like
Yeah.
shooting bullets.
Yeah. I have no idea what's going on. It could definitely go either way. I'm hoping for the best because there's good people in there, but it looks. I don't know what to think. Anyway,
Yeah.
but Deadpool. I still love. I can watch anytime, and it'll still make me laugh almost as much as the first
And
time.
I love the love story in this. I mean, it's organic and it's so fun and playful between the two of them. And
Yeah, they go back to the well in Deadpool 2 about the Women's Liberation Day where she's like fucking him, right?
I
Don't they? Isn't there a joke about like break out the strap on again or something like that in Deadpool 2? But the reason I mentioned that is the first time because it's all like Happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah,
happy
yeah.
to smell it. and she's like happy women's liberation day, and his muscles get all tight and everything. It's fucking hilarious, man.
Yeah, Deadpool is just fun. It's just a fun movie. Complete opposite of the spectrum is Watchmen.
It's hilarious.
Yeah. When Billy Crudup is in that machine and he turns into a blue vapor, it's amazingly
If you
funny.
grin more than twice watching Watchmen, then we have done something wrong.
Watchmen is also Zack Snyder. This is on the heels of 300, and he was hot shit after 300.
Mm-hmm.
And Watchmen, here are the positives to Watchmen. I think the way it looks is amazing. I like the overall story and mystery to Watchmen,
Right.
and I generally like the people involved. So why does this movie not completely connect with me?
It's too long. It's too long, and there's too much in it, which is funny. I've never seen the director's cut. Have you? For Watchmen?
The version I saw felt like a director's cut. I'm sure it was the theatrical cut. It's almost 2.5 hours.
Yeah,
right?
it's 2.5.
I'm trying to
and
remember if we send the extended cut.
Oh,
because
we may have.
I think we did.
Because I do remember people saying there were scenes they didn't remember.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, so yeah, that's a long ass movie.
Yeah, I think I remember getting the copy of Watchmen and going, well, I guess we're doing a 3.5 hour movie.
Well, it's saying that the running time is 163 minutes. So I don't know if that's for the regular cut or for the director's
I had no
cut.
idea. It might have been. It might be the extended cut.
That's the thing. I think it seems like almost like with Endgame, except even more so, that he was trying to do so much fan service because this is a beloved graphic novel. He's trying to literally recreate the page that it became overblown, and you could shave off 30 minutes or so of this story and condense it and make it move a little bit more. It's slow.
Yeah.
I think the scope is part of the problem because it's sort of trying to tell a couple different generation stories through the lens of one, like the most recent generation. But I don't have any connection to these characters. So I don't know. I feel like the scope is a little set too wide. If they'd narrowed it a little bit, maybe this new TV show is going to do this because the TV show looks like it's going to do nothing what the movie did. But maybe you can narrow the focus a little bit. I don't know. I just never connected to any of those
They
characters.
could have possibly done this like they're doing It, right? Where there's you see the early part, although I guess you kind of need some of the revelations to occur. It would be kind of hard to make this movie like It, though, because
I don't know how much
you could. I think you could not tell certain parts of the story. Like the big part of it is the rape that happens in it, and that's a big revelation that happens later. You could tell that part of the story without revealing that, and then just tell the old part of the story and then go to the modern part and not have it be one big huge movie where you're just like, God, man, it feels like it's never going to end.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is another movie, by the way. This is sort of an aside, but in the movie where he's on the talk show and like they bring out the woman who's got the radioactive radiation or whatever on, like she's got cancer now and all that. And everybody starts asking him the questions, and then he's like, "No!" whatever, yells, and then everybody disappears or something like that. Everybody in the studio disappears. They never explain that shit in the movie. Yeah. Where did they go? Did they die? Did they go back home? Does he know where they live? I guess they do. Yes, he does. And in the graphic novel, they actually explain where they all went.
Oh yeah,
yeah, which is it's one of those things like. I was watching a bunch of Game of Thrones stuff after the 8th season, and I've always talked about stuff like this, like where they make these small changes and they don't think they're big, but that it turns out to be huge. Like we've always talked about Gandalf almost touching the One Ring.
Yeah.
and then being like, and then going, why does he even need to go and research this if he saw the Eye of Sauron? Or did he see the Eye of Sauron and it's just something for the viewer to know?
Mm-hmm.
But like, if he sees the Eye of Sauron, why does he even have to go off on his trip?
To
be like, oh, what was that shit? I need to read some books. And no, you don't.
Need to read some books.
Yeah, but I was watching stuff with Game of Thrones where they cut the arc of there was one video I watched where they cut the arc where Tyrion, the story about the prostitute that his dad and brother hired for him.
Yeah.
They changed so much out of that the whole sequence where he kills Shay in the show and then kills his father makes no sense because of that story is way more important to that. And now it doesn't make any sense what he does in the whole thing. That's a great video. I have to show you that. But anyway, yeah, there's little things like that. It's where they do stuff that's like, okay, yeah, that was definitely in the original source material. But then you didn't offer anything beyond that, or you changed something that nothing makes sense anymore.
Yeah.
But no, Watchmen I've grown to say is good.
Yes.
I know that it's hard. I don't know where you're at on this. You're like ambivalent maybe?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That's perfect. I don't dislike it enough to spend much time talking about it, and I don't like it enough to spend much time talking about it.
One of the main things that you were kind of getting to is that it's hard to... Dr. Manhattan starts off as being like almost our primary or protagonist.
Mm-hmm.
And then he becomes so spacey, literally, and so detached from humanity that you're detached from the character. And therefore you're detached from his impact on Malin Ackerman's character and on Patrick Stewart and even Rorschach, who is a great character.
Yeah.
Patrick Stewart. You're going to call that guy Patrick Stewart?
It's totally accidental. God damn it. Patrick Wilson.
Yeah. Patrick Dempsey.
Patrick Duffy. But yeah, so I mean, when you're not connecting with, the inciting incident guy, basically, then you're not going to connect emotionally with the movie as a whole.
Yeah, yeah.
I agree.
So yeah, Watchmen just kind of comes off maybe a little bit too serious about its subject matter. I don't know. It is long and it's not that sex scene. I mean, could be considered part of the lightheartedness of this movie.
Oh my! Well,
it's
that
awful.
whole sequence, because he's like all like impotent and awkward and all that shit, and she's like horned up and
like he fucked her mom, right? And now he's fucking the daughter?
No, that was
Jeffrey Dean,
yeah,
right? Or Stanton,
the comedian.
Yeah, Jeffrey
Does the
Dean,
actress play
Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Does the actress play both the daughter and the mother?
No, Carla
No.
Gugino plays the mom.
Why did I think the actress? Who's the actress that plays
Malin Ackerman?
Malin Ackerman. Why did I think she played two characters in this movie?
There's so much weirdness in the overlap, and that's what you're saying is that it would be nice to have two different movies because she's Silk Spectre and Malin Ackerman is Silk Spectre number 2 or something like that. So it's literally because the previous generation had different names from the next one except for her.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's why.
That's my confusion.
Yeah. And I think as great as that opening credit sequence is with the Bob Dylan and all that, like it might have been better just to have that as a whole movie.
Yeah.
And then you start your Watchmen, expanded universe or whatever the hell. But you do that second one after that, and now you don't have because if you're gonna watch Watchmen, you got to carve out a whole segment of time out of your afternoon to do it.
You really do.
And you got to pay attention.
Carve out a section of your soul too.
Yeah.
Hallelujah.
That's where that awesome thing Jeremy wrote, the worst Leonard Cohen cover I've ever heard, started. Oh my God. The people who don't get that at all, that's the best. That shit is the best. There's nothing better than on a video where you are clearly like just being wrong on purpose, and someone has to come out and correct you about it. They can't let it go.
Oh my God,
that really is Leonard Cohen. Oh really?
Joke's on you, Sin Guy.
Joke's on you, Sin Guy.
All right, I'm gonna pick Deadpool in this one.
Captain Deadpool. Nah, just Deadpool. I picked Deadpool.
I love Deadpool. It's irreverence. I think it's funny. I think it's got heart. Deadpool.
Captain Deadpool.
So that's going to be Batman Begins versus Deadpool in the East.
Good matchup.
The Sweet 16. On to our last two matchups here. The 2-seed Spider-Man Homecoming versus number 7, The Dark Knight Rises.
Spider-Man Homecoming versus The Dark Knight Rises. Wow. Wow.
Where do you want to start?
Dark Knight Rises.
All right. Why do you like it so much?
Because my favorite run of the Batman comics ever was the Nightfall, Nightquest, Bane run, where Bane breaks Batman's back.
Right.
And Bruce has to go off. Now, nobody really knows at that point, but he goes off on his own mystical training year or what have you.
He's not in prison.
No.
He goes off on his own.
Yeah, he
in
goes
the
off.
comic.
Yeah.
Okay.
He goes off and starts training and healing and mentally, physically, all of that stuff to the point where when he's done, he's bigger, stronger, faster than ever. But it takes a long time. And in that time, a guy he was grooming becomes Batman, changes the suit, decides to start killing randomly and being extra vigilante. Then Robin has to try and stop him.
This is a different character than Robin.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then Batman comes back, and they have to take down Azrael, who's the guy that replaced him, named himself Azrael. And then they have to take down Bane. Actually, I think that's the reverse order. I think he takes down Bane, and he has to turn and go back after the now evil Batman, who's got this metal yellow suit of armor. Anyway, that is the only long run of any famous comic arc that I actually read issue to issue when it was being released.
Well, my question is, why didn't they do that?
Good question.
That sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. And that's exactly as many characters as is in this.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have a Talia al Ghul.
You don't need a Catwoman.
You don't need a Robin.
No.
That sounds awesome.
I don't know. But
you don't need the Robin that we get in this.
So Nolan, in this movie, when he does have Bane and Batman face off in that fight in the sewers, that's fucking epic.
It is. It is.
And it has so many notes that just give me chills from that comic run. All this to say, I have prior attachment to some of these elements from the comics that make me like the movie more. The movie's a hot mess. I guarantee you. I do not disagree with you there. But the parts that I like are so good. Like that fight is so good because Batman should know. Everyone around him knows. Alfred knows. You should not be going back out there. You are busted. And he still thinks, I can do this. I'm Batman. Who's ever going to beat Batman? And he goes down there, and the gate shuts, and the guy, Bane says, Mr. Wayne, and Batman realizes, oh, shit. And Catwoman's like, that was Bruce Wayne? Oh, shit. And then it just all, the next 10 minutes from there are perfect.
And there's no score in that fight, I don't think, right?
And then, he kills the lights, and Bane's like, oh, you think darkness is your ally? I was born in the darkness. Molded by it. I just love everything about that sequence. That's it. It elevates the movie for me because it's so good.
I agree, and I think Anne Hathaway is terrific in this movie too. She's maybe the second best part, maybe even the best part.
Yeah, she's good.
Because Tom Hardy is fine, but I mean, he's one note for a guy.
It would be very painful.
Gotham is yours.
Yeah, Gotham is yours.
And see, in the comic, Bane is much more jacked because he ingests this venom substance. In fact, the Bane from Batman and Robin at least looks and behaves more like the Bane from the comics. And so, yes, this movie makes Bane just a guy who's maybe 3% bigger and stronger than most guys. And so I do have some wishes that they could have done it. Because even when Alfred's pointing at the screen, he's like, look at him fighting, the ferocity. And I'm like, I don't see any ferocity.
Yeah.
It looks like a stage fight, like stage sword fighting. But anyway.
The problem for me on this movie is okay, yes, they have it's what is it about third movie syndrome about these things where they have to like cobble every character that they can into a thing. And you know, I know that a lot of times it's about the rights, but Warner Brothers has a pretty good stranglehold on Batman's rights, I think, for eternity almost. And so like it's in the prior Marvel stuff like Spider-Man 3 and everything like that, those make sense where they're like, okay, we got to stick these characters in or else we lose the rights forever, which is a stupid fucking thing.
Yeah.
I'll never understand this. But the also the fact that Gotham itself, which was so Chicago in The Dark Knight, becomes Pittsburgh, New York, maybe some London in there, and there's no sense of place anymore. And maybe, you know, you probably asked Nolan and he's like, well, yeah, I meant to do that because Gotham isn't what it used to be anymore and all that. Fuck you. I just want a class. I want a sense of place and something that doesn't just like
You just
go
said,
all over.
fuck you to Christopher
Yeah,
Nolan.
I did. Here's a guy I enjoy in 95% of your movies. Fuck you.
Oh,
It wouldn't have been hard. It wouldn't have been hard to, you know, blow the bridges in Chicago or whatever,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. It's just it's just silly. The whole movie. I went into this movie. You're right about third movie syndrome. I'm a sucker again because I'm looking forward to this third Star Wars movie, and I shouldn't be. It's probably going to blow ass, but I'm gonna get into it. But man, I was so excited about Dark Knight Rises, and the trailers were epic. The trailers were awesome.
Yeah.
And Jesus Christ, man, I walked out of that movie, and I was like, man, I may have been on a bit of a high because the opening scene is so great. The whole, you know, plane thing. The fight was epic. And I didn't think too much about how he got out of the cave and all that stuff. But, like, yeah, the Tacton Coda with him coming back to life, like all that stuff, I was just like, I was walking out of there like, I don't know.
Somebody sent me a video from the dude that's in Free Solo, and he was going through all these different movie mountain climbing things and everything, and he was looking at the Dark Knight Rises one, and he was like, this one right here shouldn't be hard at all. like if he can do this, then he can really literally just climb up straight up the wall.
Yeah. I remember thinking the same thing, but I obviously am not a.
That was pretty funny. Yeah, for me, it's just that all over the place nature this movie has that I can't get beyond. I can't get behind it. But there are some good things. That Bane fight is good.
Yeah, and then my least favorite part is that they tried to sneak a Robin in there by making Gordon Levitt's character's first name Robin.
Oh, yeah.
It's a pretty name. I like it. You should go by that name more. Whatever that girl says.
Yeah.
Robin. I like the whole thing with passing the torch because there's the theme throughout is anybody could have been Batman.
Yes.
And even Joseph Gordon-Levitt going down into the cave at the end works fine for me, except I keep hearing that woman saying Robin.
But
Robin.
That ending's bullshit though. The with Bruce Wayne like hanging out in London and he's supposedly dead, and he's one of the most famous faces in the entire world.
Yep.
He has that one little nod to Michael Caine at the end, and it's like, yeah, you just played yourself, man. Everybody knows where the fuck you are now.
Oh,
what an
man.
asshole. Let's talk about Spider-Man Homecoming. I know this is your jam, your jammy jam. This is so good.
Will they let Giacchino do the slow 60s cartoon theme for a whole movie? For both Homecoming and Far From Home, he has released a 1-minute snippet of the orchestra playing that do 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 do, and it's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it is.
And I love the theme he came up with. I didn't at first. It's growing on me. That dun 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 dun. I love that. I still want more of that old Spider-Man theme slowed down to halftime.
I agree.
Not just one scene or for the logo. I want a climactic action scene where Spider-Man picks himself up and we hear that. I'm getting chills just thinking of a fake scene in a movie that doesn't exist. I love it. Spider-Man Homecoming may be one of the most flawed movies I still am willing to give an A+.
Yeah. I mean, what are the... okay, big flaws, the ending.
Yeah.
Especially the plane part.
You could cut that ending and Wonder Woman's ending together.
Yeah.
aside from some, aesthetic differences, there's no difference really.
Exactly. A bunch of purples and dark blues and blacks and all that stuff.
Yeah.
With that that's really the only flaw to me.
Flaw, I said that wrong. There's a Spider-Man I would rather see who is not Tony Stark's ward, who doesn't have a computer voice speaking into him, who doesn't have 537 web combinations. Peter Parker that I prefer did all that shit himself. He didn't need Tony Stark to hand him an Iron Spider suit. That is one huge misgiving for me. But Tom Holland is so fucking good.
Yeah, he is.
He's so good. He makes me forget all the shit that I would rather it was a different way.
Yeah,
including the ending. Michael Keaton's one of the best MCU villains. He's up there with Michael B. Jordan as far as I'm concerned. They're almost definitely going to bring him back at some point. It's really well cast. The guy that plays Ned is among the best casting Marvel's ever done, and they always cast well. I don't necessarily need the father figure Tony Stark stuff. Honestly, I'm pretty offended by all the Aunt May is hot stuff.
Yeah.
And, someone's going to take a snippet of me saying that and put it right underneath the sin from a video where I say it doesn't contain a lap.
Yeah. Of course.
I don't need that. And if she is hot or hotter than any previous Aunt May, I only need it mentioned once.
Yep.
But Tony brings it up every time he's on screen, basically. The fucking deli sandwich guy brings it up.
The fucking Thai place does it. Yeah.
But anyway, I just love it. It's like a big, wet, sloppy kiss. It's as close to the Spider-Man I know and love as any movie has ever got.
Are you talking about from the comics?
Yeah. Well, the comics and the old TV show that the cartoon comes from.
Okay. Yeah. It's a high school movie. It's a really good high school movie.
Yeah.
Because it's got, a prom scene. It's got a school trip. It's got regular shit like the Captain America health stuff. It's got detention. Like it's got Martin Starr doing the thing.
Barrett, it's the homecoming dance.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah,
and
it's got
in the title,
and it's got one of the tensest scenes in the MCU.
Yeah,
that could have gone one of 11 different ways.
Is it safe to say that everything outside of the action is great?
I think so.
Yes.
Because
the
boat scene's horrible.
Yep.
The ending is horrible. Just about anything action oriented is a low point in the movie, but everything around it is phenomenal.
Well, I mean, the car chase where he's going through the suburbs is delightful, I think. But that's not necessarily like an action fist on fist type of thing. I like that a lot, and I really like Donald Glover in here. But you're right. Those two big major set pieces are hot garbage. And when you see a more personal thing, like when Vulture has like his, he's like, "Oh, I'm distracting you," and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And the wings come in, and you see how that affects him, and like there's an emotional beat to it afterwards when he's trying to get himself back up. That's how you should just do the actions, particularly with this character.
Well, and this is, I think they made an intentional choice to hire a director who could work really good with kids, teenagers. Because this is the guy that the movie he did before this was Cop Car, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, really?
Which is a great movie.
Yeah,
I enjoyed that a lot. But what comes across in that movie is he's really good at working with 13, 14-year-old kids. And there's not a lot of action, I don't think, in this guy's resume, which may be why the action is where the film suffers, but the small moments, the character moments, are the ones that work the best.
Mm-hmm.
Even Infinity War fans will point to that "I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark" moment as one of the best moments in the whole movie.
Mm-hmm.
That relationship begins here in Homecoming.
Yeah.
And it's Tom Holland that makes that work.
Yeah, and in fact, it's really the only thing he directed before this is John Watts directed Cop Car and then got Spider-Man based off of that.
Yeah.
And,
it's kind of like how Mark Webb did 500 Days of Summer and then got The Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah. The decision for me is pretty easy here. I'm going to be putting Spider-Man Homecoming to go on.
Yeah, that's a landslide. The only way that The Dark Knight Rises would have a chance is if it's Jeremy's edited version.
Yeah, or if it was good.
Or if it were good, yeah.
Spider-Man Homecoming wins.
Yeah. All right. So what will be facing off against Spider-Man Homecoming? Here's our last matchup of this episode in the East bracket. It is the 3 seed V for Vendetta versus the 6 seed Guardians of the Galaxy. And this is a tough one. I
like this matchup.
I think the 3-6s might be tougher than the 4-5s.
Yeah.
But I know you, Jeremy, love V for Vendetta. And I've seen it twice. I'm not there yet, but give us your love fest to V for Vendetta.
This is what I will say: is this would be a good movie to check out, given the state of politics around the world. Because in this movie, you have a religious fanatic leader who has taken control of both the country and the media. And you have one man, V, who goes on a year-long quest to wake the public up.
Yep.
And when they finally do wake up and revolt, thankfully, because it's a movie, no one really has to get their hands dirty except for V.
Right.
And no one really has to even be put in danger except for V. He takes out the most important people. The people line the streets. It's basically a sit-in. Everybody wins. Yay, hurrah.
Yeah.
I fucking love this movie.
I do too. And I'm glad you brought that up, because it's not him taking out the autocrat. Because he could probably find a way to get into John Hurt's area and fuck him up. But he has to win the hearts and minds of the populace.
Yep.
And I think that's a very important step to remember, when you're dealing with autocrats. And the way that he goes about doing it is not through overt destruction, but he's saying that, does he blow up Parliament at the beginning or at the end?
He blows up Old Bailey at the beginning.
Right, okay. But then he's threatening to
He says, in
blow
1
up
year's
Parliament.
time, I'll blow up Parliament.
And that's what gets the attention of the public, and then he starts to get his message out. He starts exposing these people for what they are, and yeah, he does it in such a stylistic fashion that it's just beautiful. It's the Wachowskis that wrote it, and I think produced it or helped.
They produced it, yeah.
And the director is James McTeague, who I don't know what he did otherwise, but it's just beautifully done. It's beautifully cast. Hugo Weaving and Natalie Portman, and John Hurt is fantastic in that role too.
Yeah, I mean, everybody's good. Even the guy,
the comedian.
No, I was thinking the guy from Crying Game.
Stephen Ray.
Yeah.
Stephen Ray, not because the other Crying Game guy we referenced 2 episodes ago was the other guy.
Yeah, Jay Davidson.
Yeah.
Stephen Ray is great.
But Stephen Fry is the other one. That's the
Stephen
media
Fry's
guy.
fantastic.
Yeah.
And he has that great moment where he takes in Natalie Portman and she finds out he's gay, and he's got like a Book of Mormon and all this banned shit in the bottom of his house.
Yeah.
And the TV stations and the politicians are always calling him the terrorist V, and the public's never buying it. And then V sends out his mask to everyone, so everybody has a costume. God, I love this movie. This movie's way bloodier than you realize.
Yeah, it is.
Especially that last bit is one of my favorite. He shows up in the sewers, and it's basically the war director. I forget the guy. It's Creedy, I think is his name. He's like the J. Edgar Hoover of this world, if you will. And he basically has made a deal with this guy. I'm going to turn myself over to you if you give me, the dictator, and he does. But there's 15 bad guys there, and V's just standing there, and they all shoot him. And then he stands back up and he goes, "My turn."
Yeah.
And while they're all reloading, he goes through with his Raphael size like the Ninja Turtle, and blah, 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 blah. It's very stylized.
Yeah.
But it's also very awesome.
Yeah, he's full of holes at this point.
Yeah, exactly. And he kills them all and gets right up to that guy and stumbles all the way back to have one last moment. God, I don't think it's as good as my love for it. But I think it's better than most people's blaseness about it.
I don't know.
Yeah, I wondered about that.
I mean, ultimately, look, IMDb's got this at 8.2, so
Oh, wow.
it's up there.
I did not realize that.
You're not alone on V for Vendetta.
That's good.
I tend to love dystopian future type movies, and anything with this type of sort of 1984 type of feel to it. the actor Roger Allam plays that Louis Prothero guy who's on that's my favorite part of it is his like just like his he's sneering about everything.
England prevails.
Yeah, and then I think he gets shivved in the shower later.
Yes, it does.
But yeah, I haven't quite made it there yet. I like it, but I'm not quite on that like God, I love this movie so much yet. I haven't got to that, but I mean, and when we send it, I was like, yeah, this is better than when I remember when I first saw it. And of course, it's a 2005 movie, so I have a lot of like bias towards those.
We give a lot of credit to Carl Urban for playing Dredd with a mask the entire movie, and there's a scene where Hugo Weaving doesn't have his mask, but you don't really ever see his man's face.
No, it's where she comes out into his apartment.
Well, there
right?
he's got the mask on, but he doesn't have the gloves on, so she sees. No, I'm talking about the flashback to where they set fire to the compound.
Oh, yeah. I got you.
But basically, the entire movie, he's behind this mask, and he's got such a great voice, which I'm sure they realized when they were making The Matrix.
Yeah, and also they've got his dialogue is so delightful.
Oh yeah, well that opening scene when he rescues Natalie Portman, like every other word starts with V.
Yeah.
Vivisection of vitality. Yeah, it's good shit.
It goes up against Guardians of the Galaxy. This is what I'm talking about, in reference to Ant-Man and all this. This movie is completely out of fucking left field for Marvel.
Yeah.
And that there's no branding in this where they're like trying to make everything look the same and conform the same and all that. And they go and make a blockbuster out of this thing. Comes out in August. I don't think they thought one iota that it was going to make this much money.
Yeah.
They thought it was going to be something like, we'll just do this. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And just gangbusters.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show what happens when that you could still do something like this without making it exactly like all the other things.
Yeah. And I went to the same theater the same year in Chicago around the same time to see Captain America Winter Soldier and Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
I walked out of Captain America Winter Soldier really looking forward to it. Walked out of it like,
mm-hmm.
And I walked out of Guardians of the Galaxy having no expectations whatsoever, beaming.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
This is one of those movies where real life just fucked with my situation. So I went to go see this with Josh back when I was still doing those before and after movie reviews. We'd set up a camera in the car to record. And he got a call from his wife. One of his kids was sick or something, literally an hour into the movie.
Oh.
And he was like, I'm sorry, man, I got to go. I was like, all right, we'll catch it again another time. So he leaves. Like 2 hours later, calls me. He's like, all right, I got it all sorted. It comes back up to where I live, and we go see it again and watch from beginning to end there. And I just think, given that chain of events, there was almost no way that movie was going to be amazing to me after all of that. I'd already sat through the first hour and then had no resolution. Then before I can have the resolution, I have to sit through the first hour again. I love it. I think it's a B+, A-. It's probably in my top 5 or 6 Marvel films. But I have a feeling if I'd had a pure first viewing, it might have been even higher.
Yeah.
This is really well cast.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Bradley Cooper, you never would have convinced me he could do voices like that.
Oh, yeah.
And, Chris Pratt has overstayed his welcome for some people.
Yeah.
But I think this movie is a perfect vehicle for his comedy. My wife has recently been on a Parks and Rec binge, and I have never seen the show, but I'm watching it vicariously every time I'm in the room with her. And this feels like an extension of that comedy that he's doing on that show. Now, I'm not sure the Chris Pratt in the Jurassic World movies, the suave, not ever cracking joke guy. Like, I don't get that. No, but I like this movie. Guardians is good.
Yeah.
It's good. I like the prison escape. I like Rocket's wanting of the spare leg that he doesn't actually need.
Yeah.
I don't understand Glenn Close and John C. Reilly in this movie at all. I don't know why you cast them if your script has their planet being destroyed.
Yeah, they only get like seconds of screen time, really, right?
Yeah.
Really, and it's like, does that really matter? Did we really sell extra tickets because Glenn Close's name was like 12th billed or something? I think you could have put any. You could have put like a CG monster in that role and it would have worked just as fun.
That's true.
Anyway,
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, yeah, Guardians is just all around solid. So
It's fun.
even though I'm not as high on V for Vendetta as you guys are, this is still a hard one for me.
Yeah.
I think V for Vendetta is the better movie, so I'm going to go ahead and pick it.
Wow.
Ooh.
Wow. Do you want to make it interesting, or should I just close the door?
I'll make it interesting. I think I'm going to choose Guardians of the Galaxy. I love V for Vendetta, but Guardians of the Galaxy is the most fun that they've had. All right, so at this point, you had Iron Man, which was a lot of fun. And then you got more serious. You got Thor stuff, and then you got, Avengers, and you got Winter Soldier and all that stuff that was taking it much more seriously. And this one was just concerned, even with an Infinity Stone. In fact, the first Infinity Stone that we know is an Infinity Stone is in here. And even with that import to the series, it's having the most fun. So I'm going to choose Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
Wow. V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
I
can't argue with it.
recently purchased that graphic novel.
Really?
And once I've had a chance to go through it, I'll let you borrow it.
Okay.
I'm curious to see what differences there are between that and the film that I know and love.
Oh, my God.
You're evil! You're evil!
Yes, Natalie Portman's accent is just a little bit off.
Yeah,
on
she's got a point in that scene, man. That's like totally wrong.
Man, that whole sequence is fucked up.
He tortures her.
Yeah.
You tortured me. You're evil.
And it's funny because it was while she was filming this that she did that Natalie Raps thing on SNL because she had the shaved head.
Yep.
And
I love you, Natalie.
We want to fuck you too. Yeah, that's interesting. I thought for sure you both were going for V for Vendetta there. So
I love both of these. This is probably one of the hardest choices. But the Guardians,
like if you had gone first and then Jeremy would have said his thing, I might have had another Batman /
coin flipper.
These are very, very close.
Yeah. There is, there's something about being that last vote, but you're 50-50 that makes you want to consider, it doesn't mean anything to anybody's life, but you still want to get it quote unquote right. But ask me 7 days from now, I'll probably say one or the other.
Yeah.
It's kind of like baseball, right? Like the guy who strikes out at the bottom of the ninth to end the game is no more responsible for that loss than the guy who struck out in the first inning.
That's right.
So we now have 2 Marvels and 2 DCs in this.
Wow!
Yeah.
That worked out nicely.
Managed to make that happen. So V for Vendetta will be going up against Spider-Man Homecoming in that bracket, and we have Batman Begins and Deadpool also. And so we've got another one to go. That'll be next week, but that'll be the South bracket.
That'll be fun.
Yeah. And like I said, we're doing these before we know how you guys feel about them. In fact, we'll get through most of this before we even know what you guys think of this.
Yep.
Be interesting. It'll be interesting to find out.
Can't wait.
That'll do it for this week. Please keep going to Sincast presented by Cinemasins on Facebook. We have Cinemasins Twitter, SoundCloud. There are a bunch of places to go and talk about this very episode.
Yeah, and go buy the Ables and pre-order strings. It's really good.
Pre-order you some strings.
Yeah. You can go to, by the way, the catch-all URL would be theablesbook.com. And from there, you can get links to pre-order both books. You can also sign up as a pre-order person to get there's like a comic book that I wrote, a digital comic book. Jeremy Simser did the drawing. It's awesome. And there's some behind-the-scenes like doodles and cover art.
Really?
All kinds of stuff like that. You get. Yeah.
But that'll do it for this week. It's Chris Atkins and Jeremy Scott and Barrett Scher. We'll see you next time.
Thanks for listening. Comment on our episodes on our SoundCloud page. Check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. And be sure to visit cinemasins.com.
So I was getting gas at Kroger, and I looked over, and the Kroger attendant at the gas station is outside the little gas station attendant room,
Mm-hmm.
smoking a cigarette.
Okay.
I knocked on her.
Yeah.
I went into the store after I got gas, and I said, "Hey, your gas station attendant is smoking
By the gas.
by the gas station." It drives me bonkers when I see real people do that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not quite to where I'm going to, get in their face.
Mhm.
But an employee of a major chain, come on, man. I
Yeah.
don't need to blow up just because she needs her nicotine. Don't put the smoker on gas station duty.
Yeah, find another job where she can do that shit.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. You can smoke in the break room at Kroger.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She doesn't have to smoke out there. Just take your break.
Mm-hmm.
Go smoke 5 cigarettes in the break room over 15 minutes.
Mhm.
Go back out.
Yeah.
I hate anyone with a pony.
Who knew she had a pony?
Manya.
That's one of the best all time, just because doesn't he say that well after they've talked about the pony?
Yeah, she's already gone.
Yeah.
And he's like, who figures an immigrant has a pony? He's like, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
What I love about Julia Louis-Dreyfus, by the way, is how she reacts during these classic bits. Like, if you watch her during the whole reservations thing where he's going off about you don't know how to hold them. And that's really the most important part of she's like looking at him and nodding along because he's like, you know how to take the reservation. You just don't know how to hold the reservation. And as he's doing that, her head's like going up and down, like to the rhythm of the comedy.
Anybody can just take
Anybody
it.
can just take it.
Lemmy Winks.
Lemmy Winks is making the journey.
They somehow made that the absolute grossest thing they've ever done in their life. Because it seemed like every time wherever Lemmy Winks went, they always managed to put something dripping or green in the background or something.
And then you hear Mr. Slave going, "Oh, Jesus Christ."
Yeah.
What are we talking about?
South Park.
Yeah, it's a South Park where a rat is going through Mr. Slave's ass.
Yes.
Okay, that's
And
all I need to
His
know.
name is Lemmy Winks.
And his name's Lemmy Winks, and they turn it into a fantasy epic thing where he's looking for the Frog King or something like that, and it's distasteful. Everything about it is distasteful, but they manage. I don't know. It manages to be gross, funny. I could have done without it.
Well, King of the Hill would be easier than
King of the Hill would be easy.
BoJack Horseman.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, BoJack
He's a fucking horse. What's
Although,
he doing talking?
I will say this: BoJack Horseman has enough serious stuff in it that you could probably get something out of it.
You
But
like that show, right?
But yeah.
I've heard a bunch of people call that show one of the most progressive about mental health that's ever aired.
Is that right?
Yeah. Because apparently one of the central conceits has to do with mental health, or he's seeing a therapist or something.
Yeah.
Anyway,
The show can get downright dark, and not darkly funny. It does that too, but it can get super just dark, drama dark.
Who owns? Is it Disney that owns Miramax?
Miramax is owned by some Korean company or something now.
But it's still Miramax. All the Miramax properties are still with that company, right?
What do you mean?
Pulp Fiction is now owned by that Korean company.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, but
so all
not-
the assets for that, because Weinstein's went off and did their own thing, sold Miramax, right?
Yes.
Yes.
So, and all the library. The only stipulation they had out of that divorce was that they'd get to keep Tarantino and they'd get to keep Kevin Smith and all these. Although I don't think Kevin Smith's done much for Weinstein Company. But the library itself stayed with Disney, and so then Disney sold it to this company.
I see. I literally watched almost the entire thing with the Bruce Willis part out about a week ago or so, just for pleasure. Just because I hadn't, I know every beat of that movie, but I hadn't seen it in total in forever. So good.
you still haven't if you skip the Bruce Willis stuff.
I can kiss my nutsack.
I know, I was just being a jerk.
Oh. And I felt perfectly fine. I just wanted to be with Jules and Vincent and Uma and the wolf. And Quentin Tarantino's racist fucking ass, man.
Yeah.
You might want to cut that.
Okay.
Yes, but that's not public knowledge.
Okay. Okay.
Nice.